2, never argue. Never argue. There's all kinds of reasons for a kid to argue. They can get out of it. They can beat you down. They can make you angry, and they can get angry, then they can split. They might just get the sheer joy of seeing you scream. And to feel the power of the argument. And I'm going to do it, but I'm going to make you pay. And you're going to suffer. You're going to nag me forever. And I'm going to make you pay for making me do the dishes. I'm going to get my pound of flesh out of you. You finally got to scream and threaten to kill them, right? And then they say, okay. But it's deteriorated way down, so we don't want that kind of stuff. Never, ever argue. There's all kinds of reasons for kids to argue. Well, it's my turn the other day, and I did it twice, and she only did it once. And, oh, gee. You know, and you're arbitrating and judge and jury because you don't have your signs up here on the icebox with the jobs. And you can't remember who did do it. And he said, I did it yesterday. She said, I did it yesterday. Oh, geez, love at home. Okay, and this is going on. You think, why did I ever get married? Why did I have these kids? Okay? I told you the first course we have here is in child psychology, right? If this doesn't work, the second course is in karate. And so that ought to work for you. There's never a reason for a parent to argue. A parent cannot win an argument. You're in a control battle, and you can't win a control battle. So when you argue, if you win, you're just modeling power for the kid. And you're modeling that arguing pays off. If you lose, the inmates take over the asylum. You get out of Dodge City. You might as well pack up and leave because the kids are taken over. If they can out-argue and they can win. Does this make sense? There's absolutely no reason in the world to argue. It's very bad. It teaches the kids. You're rewarding them from arguing and fighting. And they have to create a bad spirit in the home. Create a bad spirit in the home, and then you reward them. Is that pretty bad? They argue and are nasty and stinky, and then you finally give in so that they create this evil feeling in your home, and then you reward them after they do this? Are you crazy? What are you doing? And so you stop arguing. You disengage. You unhook. You withdraw. You refuse to argue. Greg Bodenhammer had a book that came out. It's called Back in Control. And in that book, he has a couple of dynamite concepts. And one of them is how to stop arguing. And the kid comes in and they argue and they argue and they argue and they argue. And he says you don't want them to do that. And so he's got a couple words that he uses so that they don't argue anymore. The kid says, well, I want to go down here and I want to do this. And mama says, no, sweetheart. The kid says, well, I want to do this and I want to do that. And you say, well, no, honey. Well, why? And then once you get into the why, what happens? Yeah, why this? Because this, and the other. And then he's not going to accept that logic, is he? And he goes on and on. Kid says, hey, we're going to go to the rock concert. And we're going with Tommy. And we're going to go over the weekend. And we've got dates. And you say, no. No, I don't want you to go down there. Well, we're going in his brother's car. Son, you can't go. The thing is, no, man. You're only 4. He's 5. Neither one of you can drive. And I don't like these 14-year-old girlfriends you got. You're only 5. You know? Now, the answer is no. And he says, well, why? And you say, well, because it's ridiculous. It's against the law and you don't have a license. But he can overcome that, can't he? He's operating on an emotional level and you're operating on a cognitive level. And you pass in the night. Now, wait a minute. Just a second here. You mean you think this kid is going to listen to you? Listen to this. Well, why not, Mother? Well, because it's too far and it's against the law. Do you think that little kid is going to say, gee, I never thought of that. Gee, Dad, thanks. What a guy. What a guy. You really care for me. You really love me. Is that what happens over to your house? When this kid says, why? And you say, why? And then you tell him, he says, geez, Dad, that's great. I'm going to go tell the guys. Man, we didn't know that. When that kid says, why? Do you think he's after more data? Do you think he's after data? No. Every time you give an objection, all they do is want to beat it down, isn't it? That kid is not after more data. He's not going to say, well, that's right. We are too young. We don't have a license, and these girls are 10 years older than we are. And besides that, there's drugs and everything else down there. Dad, I didn't know that. I really appreciate it. What a guy. Man, we're so lucky to have parents in this world. Your kids do not talk like that, do they? No way. And whenever you say why, you're stepping into the trap. And you're being stupid. So you don't say why. You don't say why. Guess what you say? Sweetheart, I understand you'd like to go. Now, you don't get into the cognitive thing. You don't get into the argument. You don't give reasons why. I understand you would like to go. And I understand that you think it would be okay at 4 years old to go down to San Diego. I'm sure it's going to be an exciting time. I agree with you, probably nothing would happen. Can you reach the pedals? Well, yeah. Okay, well, I'll push the pedals. I'll be on the floor pushing the pedals while he drives. I'm sure it would work out fine, probably. And I'm probably frightened for nothing. But the answer is no. But Mama, why? Nevertheless, the answer is no. Is there anything else? Is there anything else? And he's going on and on and on. You say, nevertheless, the answer is no. And he's going nuts because this is called a deflector, the nevertheless. And there's a regardless. You can use regardless. Don't get smart and say life's tough. You know, don't do that. Don't do that because you got them. And what you say is nevertheless, this is my answer. Well, why? And then this is how you answer. You don't say because of this reason and this. You don't get into the cognitive thing. You get into the feeling thing. Is this good? This is going to save your life. I want you to come back next week and tell me about all the gory victories that you had. We've had kids that just stand there dumbfounded. But it won't last. They'll think of something else. And what happens is you'll say no. Nevertheless, okay? I understand that, and you do the sponge, okay? And you say, nevertheless, no. And then they say, well, how about this? And you say, this is the sponge. Yes, suck it all out. Any more? Come on. Any more? Yeah, I understand. Is there any more? No, that's it? Nevertheless, the answer is no. This is called the broken record technique. Do you understand? And you are not going to argue because you cannot win an argument. And then you do this. But why? I say, well, sweetheart, after considering everything, I just feel it would be wrong. I love you, and I would just be scared to death. Well, Mom, that's stupid. Well, it might be stupid, nevertheless. You understand what you do with it? Regardless. Nevertheless. And they argue some more. You just take the sponge. You take the sponge and you just absorb it all. Absorb all their strength. You don't fight it. You go with it. It's like Aikido. You come with it. Come on. Give me more. And they go all out. And they haven't got any more and say, is that it? They say, yeah. Nevertheless, no. I hate that word, nevertheless. You go to some stupid class and you learn some fancy word, you think you know everything. Regardless of whether I know everything, the answer is no. You got it? You just stop arguing. You cannot reason. I promise you people, promise, they're not after data when they ask for why. They're after nail your objection and overcome it. Does this make any sense? You see how dumb we are? Why? And here you were trained when you were a teen. Your daddy says, why? You go, well, you're supposed to answer when somebody says why, right? You're not obligated to answer when a kid says why. But you feel you got to be fair. And you got to appear to be intelligent. And you got to appear what? That you got it all put together. And there's some decent reason. And you have to justify your answer. And you can never, ever justify your answer. But you do say, you're probably right. Nothing would probably happen. And your friends are probably wonderful people. And it's probably going to be a wonderful concert. And I feel terrible about it, but I'm just too scared to say yes. So, sweetheart, I love you, and the answer is no. And I'm sorry you're upset. Nevertheless, the answer is no. Well, you're stupid. And they make references to your ancestry. Okay? And they talk about this, they talk about that. And you say, regardless of my ancestry, the answer is no, sweetheart. Now, I love you, and you're going to have to live with it. The answer is no. Now, can you see how you don't give them an argument? Because when you give them reasons, you're just throwing more gas on the fire. Is that true? Don't give reasons, and you disengage. You might have to even leave the room. Is that clear? Is that powerful? Will you use that when you go home this week? You can even use it on your wife. Nevertheless. My wife would do stuff like that, and I'd make her mad or something, so I could do nevertheless. And then she'd say, you're just doing that so you can use your dumb stuff. You know, and that's right, I did. All right. Okay, you see how this works? Never, ever argue.